All right, what is going on, Laker fans? Thank you very much for being a part of the show. It's been a long time since we last talked, about 24 hours ago. It's been about 24 hours, Laker fans. I appreciate you guys being a part of the show. Had to do one tonight. So, obviously, some stuff has gone down over the last 24 hours. I did did my Lakers talk, which is now available on the ESPN LA podcast. You can find it, Lakers Talk with Alan Sliwa. So, I did that a few hours ago. Obviously, the big news that came out today was Patrick Beverley doing his introduction to the Lakers. So I want to spend a little time on that. I got some thoughts on that. I thought some things that he said which were really interesting. If you do want to go back to the podcast, download the ESPN LA the ESPN LA app, Lakers Talk, the channel there. Get the full 1 hour. Jovan Buha came on the show. I played actually the entire Patrick Beverley presser. So if you didn't get a chance to listen to it, you could listen to it there. But I'll do my own YouTube version here. What do you think? What do you think? I'm not going to talk to my YouTube people. Of course, I'm going to talk to my YouTube people. So I appreciate you guys taking some time to take a listen to this. So just a quick rundown what I'm going to do. Patrick Beverley's presser got me a little excited. I'll tell you, some of the positivity that I take from it, and just getting a chance to hear somebody like that talk representing the Lakers. It's a breath of fresh air. Somebody that's going to be that honest. Talked about what the goals are about just getting to the playoffs, and if the Lakers do that, how that certainly is going to be dangerous for any other team. About playing with Russ, he talked about Darvin Ham on if Russ and Patrick Beverley will start together, and then again, if this ultimately means that we're getting closer to Russ potentially staying on the Lakers by the time we get to training camp, which starts in less than 30 days. So let's get started. When I say it gets me a little bit excited about Russ, about Patrick Beverley being a Los Angeles Laker, I'm not going to lie. I really, the guy talks in a certain way, has a certain confidence in his capabilities and what he brings to the table. Is a hard-nosed defensive player that I know and all Laker fans know. We don't really have too many of those. Obviously, Anthony Davis, one of the best defenders in the NBA, but you got to be available in order to show that. So hopefully Anthony Davis is available this year to do that. But on top of all that, he just brings this I guess this swag and this confidence and this dog that we just didn't see enough of the Lakers. So I was a big fan of the presser today, and there were a few moments with a few things that he said gave me something to look forward to. Now, do I think Patrick Beverley is going to take a Lakers team that was 16 games below 500 and all of a sudden they're 16 games over 500? Obviously, the man's not going to do that by himself. It's not completely unrealistic that if Anthony Davis is healthy, if Braun is still producing in his 20th year in the NBA, if Russ finds a role that makes sense, blah, blah, blah. We could list down all the reasons. But damn, does that dude bring some swag to this team and some confidence that I don't know was certainly there last year. And the thing that I think stands out to me most about him, especially listening to him talk, you guys remember if you've been following the Lakers for a number of years, I left this example in Lakers Talk when I did it earlier. I left the example of it's not just what players can do on the court. It's what players are respected enough that behind the scenes, they could say things that other players are going to at least listen to. They can say things or challenge other players, whether that's a young, player that's only been in the league for a year or a player that's been in the league for 20 years. They can say things, and at least whether you like it or you don't, you respect that it's coming from that specific player. So that's what I think of Patrick Beverley. You guys remember back in the days when Kobe and Shaq were winning. That's my favorite era of Lakers basketball because that's my era, just based off my age when I was, obviously watching Lakers basketball the most. It's during the Shaq and Kobe era. And it was guys like Brian Shaw. It was guys like Derek Fisher. It was guys like Rick Fox. You got to have players like that on your team. Pat Bev it reminds me of those types of players where he's not the star. He's not going to be the guy that, has a mic in front of him after every game on ESPN or on TNT or something like that. But actually he might, just because he's such a talkative and not afraid to say whatever's on his mind. But there's a culture thing that comes with a player like that. And today I thought was a perfect example of him displaying a little bit of that, being honest, saying that we're going to have honest conversations, talking about if you can't be honest, in a conversation privately in a locker room, how the hell are you going to figure it out when 20,000 fans are booing you? I like that about Patrick Beverley. I really do. So um, I walked away in that 12-minute presser that Pat Bev was in earlier today, um, eh, feeling a certain way. Again, do I think the world is going to change because Patrick Beverley is on the Lakers? Probably not. But do I think he can influence the direction of the Lakers? I do. And I don't think it's just going to be what he brings to the table on the court. I think it's aspects of his game that he's going to be able to bring off the court, inside that locker room, the attitude that the Lakers need. So that part got me that part got me feeling a certain way about Patrick Beverley in the upcoming season for the Lakers. That's one of my takeaways of listening to Pat Bev earlier today. A couple other things that I want to hit on here. Before I get into Pat Bev and the Russ stuff, and he addressed some stuff there. I want to get into some other stuff that I think is as important, if not more important. So one of the questions that came um, to Patrick Beverley is that he takes pride, if I follow this correctly, that every team he's played on so far in the NBA through his entire career has made the playoffs. And he said that he's very prideful of that. Obviously, the last team coming was the Minnesota Timberwolves. And he talked about how he changed the culture with the Minnesota Timberwolves, with the Los Angeles Clippers, with the Houston Rockets. He was just kind of listing off teams that he's been a part of, and he wants some credit of changing the culture. And I do think the Lakers, they need a little bit of that. I know LeBron's on the team. I know AD's on the team. So it might sound a little crazy to say that, but again, it's not just the star power. It's a player like that I think could approach any of these guys at any time and challenge them with what would be a healthy conversation. So this is the honesty that I'm talking about that I like. Let me read a quote about what he said about last year's season. He says, I just feel like they didn't make the playoffs last year. Goes on to say, we're being honest. That's just the truth. So you can see all the banners, but it's what have you done for me lately? And lately, the Lakers haven't been a good team. And I'm here. Obviously, Coach Ham is here. And he goes on to kind of say a couple other things. I love that. I when I read that quote and when I was listening to him say it earlier today, what have you done for me lately? If there's any fan base out there that understands the mantra of what have you done for me lately, it's freaking Laker fans. The Lakers won a championship. What was it? A little over 2 years ago, something like that. Does it not feel like it was 24 years ago? Does it not feel like Lakers haven't won a championship in 30 years? Because that's how a lot of Laker fans act. The Lakers won an NBA championship just 2+ years ago. Do you know how many franchises there are in the NBA that have never won an NBA championship? And this is one of the things that I love and respect so much about the Laker fan base. And really, one of the things I'm most prideful about as far as being a Laker fan, it's never good enough. You're always striving for something else. And just when you accomplish that goal, the conversation is, okay, cool. So you're tied with the Celtics. When are you going to pass them? Or if it was in the past, all right, you won an NBA championship, but Shaq has won more than you. Or there's always some motivating factor, it seems like, from Laker fans. And this is a perfect example of it. And I think Patrick Beverley understands that. I think he understands that the Lakers have 17 championship banners. Cool. That's awesome. You didn't make the playoffs last year. You were 16 games below 500 last year. So it might be nice and dandy what you've done in the past, but the past is the freaking past. I loved that part about what he was saying. I really do. I respect it. At the end of the day, that's going to be the goal. I'm going to read one more thing here that falls along the playoffs because I think this is a great one as well. He said, we're a matchup problem. We're a matchup problem for anybody. In order for us to be a matchup problem, we have to get to the playoffs. And playoffs are matchups. And we're a matchup problem for everybody across the board. And we know that. And our business is just getting to the playoffs. And if we get to the playoffs, the guys who all that polarizing figure Now you guys can take us where we got to go. That's the mindset. And really, what he's talking about LeBron and Anthony Davis. Let's get into the damn playoffs, and then let the best players take over when they need to. And I'm okay with that goal. And that's not to say that the goal of the Lakers is just to make the playoffs. The goal is to obviously make the playoffs and then try to compete here in the Western Conference. But one step at a time. You didn't make the playoffs last year. Um, you got to just get in and then hopefully be dangerous there. And then hopefully this 82 game grind plus the 6 preseason games, the 88 games plus training camp shows you a team that they may not have the best record in the Western Conference, but teams know that's going to be a tough out if they make the postseason once they're in there. And that's obviously one of the goals that the Lakers have. And I love Patrick Beverley, obviously pointing that out. Uh, another kind of, I would say, one of the main things that has been talked about all day long today was the fact that Russell Westbrook was there. And the reason why I didn't get into it right away, like anything, the Russ, Pat, Bev, all that stuff, it's blown out of proportion. Some of it maybe is a little bit fair. I do know it's the Lakers, and I do know that there's always storylines around them. But I wanted to wait a second. I'm excited about Patrick Beverley. He made me more excited about the upcoming season, taking a listen to him. And then the thought process about making the playoffs, being honest that the team wasn't there. Those are two of the most important things I took away. Now I'll get to Russ. So he thinks that it can definitely work, and it will work, playing Russell Westbrook and Patrick Beverley together. Pat Bev is excited about that opportunity. First off, let me just say this. However you feel about Russell Westbrook, whatever it is, if you think he's the worst fit in the NBA when it comes to the Lakers, if you want him shipped out tomorrow, if you love the guy, however you feel about Russ, I have a good gauge of how Laker fans feel about Russ, and I kind of fall along the same boat as far as the fit with the Lakers. I really, really respect the fact that Russ was at that presser today. I really do. He was at the presser when Darvin Ham came, obviously was introduced as the head coach of the Lakers, whatever, X amount of months ago, whenever that was. He was there too. And there have not been many positive conversations that come with Russ and the Lakers. I respect somebody that even through all the chaos and the storm still shows up. I don't know if Russ is going to be a part of the Lakers by the time training camp starts. It's feeling more and more like that's going to be the case. I expressed yesterday when I did this YouTube video, I am more of a proponent of moving on and trying to get some role players that are a better fit. But I do appreciate and respect Russ showing up and showing support to Patrick Beverley. I think that's a strong move on his part, and certainly someone for me that has a microphone in front of me and gets to talk about Lakers basketball. I think it's a good showing. So I respect that Russ showed up. As far as Russ and Patrick Beverley playing together, I got a quote that, Darvin Ham talked as well today. So we got a chance to listen to him. I love what Darvin Ham said about starting both point guards together if that helps improve the team. This is what he says. He says, if they play defense, we've got a while. That's still a ways off, but definitely. People get caught up in the starting lineups a lot, but you look at who is finishing games, those starters, they're out there to set the tone for the entire team throughout the game. So let me just go back to that. He said if they play defense, that's still a ways off, but definitely. He's only talking about Russ. He's obviously not talking about Patrick Beverley. Patrick Beverley's in this league because he plays defense. The question is Russ. I was mentioning this earlier. There is no pressure on Darvin Ham to play Russell Westbrook X amount of minutes. There's no pressure on him to start him. There's no pressure on him. This is his first year as a Laker coach. He ain't getting fired. He's going to be on this Lakers team. They're going to give him every opportunity. And Russ is in the final year of his contract. So there's not much leverage for Russ when it comes to this upcoming year. Russ has got to show that he's still valuable in the NBA. Go try to get another contract next year. Obviously, much less than the $47 million. But I stick on this point because that might be the best quote that I saw listening to both Patrick Beverley and Darvin Ham today. If the dude plays defense, yeah, maybe I will start him. Yeah, if he's playing well at the end of a game, yeah, maybe I'll keep him in there. But there's no guarantee. You got to go earn it. And that's how it should be. There should not be, well, this player is, he's a big time name. He's going to be a future Hall of Famer and he's making $47 million. He's got to stay in games. That's not the way it's supposed to work. And I don't think Darvin Ham's going to do that. He's saying he's not going to do that. I look forward to that this upcoming year. You want PT? And Austin Reeves is having a much better game than you, and he's all over the place on defense, and he's helping out every way possible. Then he closes out the game. No one should be guaranteed that position to close out games. So that to me, I thought was another key point right there. And then the last thing that I'm going to get into, it was kind of funny because Patrick Beverley, whether directly or indirectly, took some shots. I thought at the Los Angeles Clippers a couple times. Talked about how it's night and day playing, being a Laker versus being a Clipper. That he already feels there's just a certain respect that comes with that, and of course comes with expectations. I think it's going to set up for an awesome, awesome storyline this upcoming year when the Lakers play the Clippers, and hopefully both teams are healthy and we actually get a postseason where these two teams can collide. But Patrick Beverley is a perfect person to stir it up. Patrick Beverley is a perfect person to make it more entertaining. And I know for me personally, for what I do, talking Lakers basketball, damn, am I excited to have someone like that that's going to create a lot of excitement, a lot of content, a lot of conversation, a lot of questions, a lot of chatter. That's what Pat Beverley is going to do. And he's already starting to do that, and he's certainly going to do that with some of his chatter around the Clippers. So that's my thoughts on Patrick Beverley's presser. I thought, once again, I thought it was a really interesting conversation. I thought great depth, and I thought he had some great quotes. And it makes me a little bit more excited about this upcoming season, even if it's just for 24 hours. And then when training camp starts, we'll see what happens from there. Laker fans, what do you think? What stood out to you? Agree or disagree on some of the different angles that I had? Feel free. Any comments below? I'm always appreciative when you guys put those comments down there. Plus, please subscribe to the channel if you haven't subscribed. Not sure when I'm going to do another one of these videos. Anytime I feel like, there's obviously some Lakers content that we could have a conversation about, I will post here on YouTube, and I'll do it exclusive for YouTube. So thank you for being a part of the show. Hope you guys have a good rest of your night, and I will get back with you guys soon. Thanks, Laker fans.